This is Philosophy versus Improv, where two sages try to teach each other a thing or two, and maybe you, the audience, get something out of it as well.
My name is Bill Arnett, an improv IT professional, yet a philosophy noob.
This is Mark Linsenmeyer. I am a philosophy, I would say, in the HR department, and a just kind of skating by, pretending to do improv a little bit. We have a very special guest today. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Sheri Flanders. I guess I'm an improv expert, if such a thing exists, but I am a philosophy noob because I have a degree in fashion design and I chased after all of the art boys and not the philosophy boys, so I don't know anything about that.
I think there's a lot philosophical to say about fashion design. I think you've picked our topic.
It actually gets deeper than you would expect.
Yeah, I imagine so. I don't know. I often ask Mark, as again, I'm kind of new to philosophy as well. What did the ancients say? What did the ancient Greek and Chinese and philosophers from all around the world, what did they say? And being fashion, all I'm thinking about now are just togas and robes, and
I would say
so much yet, so they were just like, tie it on. That's what we're doing.
I would say loincloths. When you're really looking at the real ancients,
really
nice
stuff.
that they found apparently according to what I see on the screens, the ancient people, they were very careful to cover their junk. They were very careful to cover exactly the things that we're self-conscious about. National Geographic, I mean, that's bullshit. That's like fake news, but like, that Ringo Starr Caveman movie, I think that's kind of where I'm drawn.
Yeah.
Like, if all you've got is a handkerchief, you've got to make a choice.
Yeah. Top or bottom? What's it going to be? Yeah. Or front or back? What's it going to be?
And amazing that handkerchiefs would be the first kind of textile that would be developed, like for actual sneezing. I think that was a really important thing, because you just don't want to have it. How annoying is it when the snot is actually running down your face? I could see them.
Yeah.
Also, prior to the loom, they're like, we made this much. Okay, guys, make it last.
Yeah. This took days just to get a handkerchief.
Don't put your nose on it.
Don't put it on your genitals. Gross. You know how much time I spent on that? Ugh. Yuck.
I mean, also, I guess the size of the garment would be determined by the size of, if you're talking about skins, the size of the animal. We're not going to be doing a lot of fine trimming, and it's going to be just the whole beef.
Yep.
The entire cow draped over you.
I guess you have to like scope out a cow and you're just like, okay, that looks like a lady size 6 petite. Let's go.
Oh, that would be hilarious if there was some animal that was like exactly shaped like people. And you could just like, we killed them all back in the caveman times. We just killed them all because they were like, man, these clothes are perfect.
Bill, Bill, I think they're called Neanderthals. I think that actually happened.
What happened to the H?
Wait, were we wearing Neanderthals though?
I mean, I'm just going with Bill's supposition. There's a vaguely human-sized creature that was not a human, that was kind of a little bigger, maybe had a little bigger forehead. You could make a nice little hat.
Oh, it just kind of fits over. Okay.
that we felt
up,
yeah, one size up. Yeah, you grow into it. It'll shrink in the wash,
Oh, this got dark fast.
Tell us more about your adventures in the fashion industry.
Ooh, it's been so many years. I actually don't do that anymore. But many moons ago, my aunt taught me how to sew when I was a little kid. And she was the type of person who could just see something in a window and make it, which is an amazing skill. Seamstresses are the coolest people in the universe. And sewing is one of those skills that used to be essential, and still is, but now that everything's mass produced, we really take that for granted. And so that led me to sew a lot of my own, starting with my Barbie dolls, moving to myself and other humans. And I went to fashion design school, and I did my internship actually at Claire's Boutique corporate offices here in Hoffman Estates outside of Chicago. And so that if you are not familiar with Claire's,
Mhm.
they are the keepers of children's and teen tween jewelry. If you were looking for earrings or you need to get your ears pierced with the gun of death, that is usually where you go, is Claire's.
Yes,
So,
my 9-year-old is very familiar with Claire's.
oh yes, you have spent time in Claire's, I'm sure, sitting on the bench out front waiting.
Yes, waiting. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So I started there, and then I moved into, well, I actually got my focus in college was wedding gowns, bridal trousseau lingerie.
Ooh.
So I sold and sewed and altered wedding gowns for a while, and then I moved over I did a lot of things, but I moved over into menswear, and towards the end of my career I worked at Perry Ellis for the Cool
Sure.
Events brand. So
Mhm.
it's like the tropical shirts, the linen, and the straw hats, and all that fun stuff. Yeah, so I've done a little bit of everything over the years.
How much, this is kind of philosophical, I guess, maybe. How much, when it comes to like fashion, and certainly there is a functionality angle to it, but then there's also uh, you know, a fashion element, an aesthetic element to it. Who, who's, are there some fashion people that are like, no, we're going to get ahead of of what people want, and there are others who are like, we're only going to listen to what people want, and like, how does that?
There's a thing in fashion that's called trend forecasting. So
Okay,
there's like, I was a designer, so there's the people that will like make the clothes, but then there's like a whole separate all the other departments of fashion, but there's people specifically, their job is trend forecasting. And they take a
gotcha.
look at everything in the world, not just clothes, but like
Hmm.
cars and industry and what do you call it? Architecture, all those
Sure.
things. And then they're like, you know what? I think these are the things that are going to be in
Yeah.
style 10 years from now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
based on that, then a lot of then the textile makers, the people that make dyes, things like that will, I don't know if you ever, I don't know what your Facebook feed looks like or your social media feeds, but do you follow like Pantone or anything like that? Do you know what Pantone is?
I'm aware of their existence.
Yes,
I
they make all
cannot
the
say I follow
colors.
Pantone. No.
They make the
Yes.
colors. And then so
Yes.
every year they're like, color of the year is like cerulean blue or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so then what happens is like that there's a certain shade of clothes that are going to be available. So if you notice, each season as things turn over in the store windows, you're like, why does everybody have that particular same kind of shade of pink? Why does
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
have the same shade of brown, whatever it is? Or, it kind of seems like everyone's doing the same thing at the same time. So yeah, some designers are going to be like, we're doing our own thing, because there's always going to be some people who are like, I'm going to do my own thing.
Yep.
And then, but it's interesting because I'm all over the place. We've come to this spot now where counterculture has become mainstream. So fashion
Sure.
is actually in an interesting spot where I feel like I really haven't seen much in the way of anything new, different, or innovative. It's kind of
Sure.
like all of the fashions that have existed are entrenched, and everybody's like, I'm going to pick one of these things. And there's a lot of, I'm a little older. And there's a lot of youngsters who are like wearing, the style of my generation.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's interesting, but I thought you guys were going to do like your own thing, but that's fine. You don't have to. But yeah, I don't feel like I'm really ever seeing
Mhm.
anything new in this moment. It's just, whatever you want to do, which is nice. You should
I mean, that is a challenge. That is why we have you invited you here, Miss. And we were hoping to pick your brain, especially for the wedding dresses. They're all of them this year so flat. They're so just white, and we're hoping that you might have some new design ideas, maybe to share a little bit.
Yes, yes. I have many, many ideas for you. I was thinking green like the grass. Every bride, instead of wearing white, she'll wear green.
So indicating a sort of a natural a newness to the. I mean, would that only work for the love marriages? Because the arranged marriages, I could see maybe this is not so natural. This might be a way to distinguish, to say, I have a marriage that was not chosen by my parents, and because then you have to go with the black and white, or the, I don't know what would be the appropriate color for enforced near slavery, sort of controlling your children.
Oh, yes. Well, I think if you are controlled by your parents, if you do not make your own choices, then the color of your dress should be gray.
Yeah. I'm sorry to butt in here, Henri. I'm I don't know how to put this delicately, but let's maybe not make wedding clothes for arranged marriages. Maybe that's just a market we can just skip.
It is a significant portion. The parents are willing to spend more if they can completely control the children's lives.
To be fair, and I'll just put this out there.
Well, then the parents can pick.
Devil's advocate. Sometimes arranged marriages are the choice of the bride and groom. Not always, but sometimes.
Well, yeah, I know. Look, look, I hate to say it, and I understand there's cultures all over the world that are beautiful and positive, and they are their own thing, but I work in corporate, and we have to worry about our image and PR, and we've done some testing of focus groups, and here in America, arranged marriages have a negative connotation. They have a negative connotation here.
Fair.
And maybe they're terrible people, but we got to pay the bills.
So you're saying stripes would be best for an arranged marriage? That it's two colors enforced to be on top of each other, and we are saying perhaps plaid.
How about just we just make our regular wedding dresses, and if an arranged marriage couple wishes to purchase them, they can just buy a regular one.
But I would ask, what is regular? Who determines what is regular?
Yes.
You think is regular? Is that the foundation of where we should start choosing?
But I'm sorry.
Are you making an assumption that the free state,
I'm just putting it out there.
The free state from the parents, that is regular, and the parents coming in and telling you every little thing to do? I mean, when I was a child, my parents came and they that is why I married three dachshunds before I could have a person. They were very cheap.
They were training dachshunds.
They were training brides. I did not choose the dachshunds.
Dachshunds?
Dachshunds.
Dachshunds, not the car, the dog.
No.
Okay,
that would be gross. No, the dachshunds. They thought you cannot take care of a wife. You must practice with a smaller animal, feed it, take care of it, and then we will see. We will see if you're ready. So I was officially wed. They allow this in France because once you allow the gay marriage, they, as the American conservatives say, you have to open it to the animals. And France has been very fashion forward about all this. And so my good friend is married to an amoeba.
Well, I think, can an amoeba consent? Can an amoeba sign a marriage certificate? Can a dog sign a marriage? So I think that's probably where I would draw the, and then probably the American public would draw the line.
I don't want to judge other. Well,
yeah,
the consent is important.
The consent thing is probably, and that gets us back to arranged marriages as well. I say again, y'all, let's just keep doing what we've been doing. What works. We sell a lot of stuff here in the USA. Let's just keep it boring, white, traditional. I think that's
white.
Well, that's any various colors of wedding dresses. I meant the dress color. I meant dress colors. Dress colors.
Yeah, but dress colors. But even specifically, why the white dress color? Why should we stick to that specific tradition?
Well, that's just what we've been selling. I don't look past the numbers. I don't.
The symbolism of white.
Hey, that's fine. We can.
So when human beings were sold, you would have been just, let's keep selling the human beings that we've sold all these years. You'd be okay with
virginity. Is virginity. And I would argue that many brides, I have been told, are not virgins on their wedding day. And do we need to symbolize that?
You mean like with a red streak somewhere on
No, we're not putting a red streak on wedding dresses. That's horrific.
Cute, actually. Mhm.
If it could be right above, on the top of the head.
In some other countries, the wedding gown color is red, not white.
Okay. Okay.
I'm saying some of the variety. We're just dressing different colors.
I think that's fine. I was thinking maybe this year we make wedding dresses maybe an inch or two shorter. And maybe the slightly off the shoulder. I thought that would really change things up, huh?
Were very popular.
It'd be really change things up, huh?
Healing when they're shorter.
That's what I call different.
And the thing is, are we trying to maximize the amount of fabric, or are we trying to minimize the amount of fabric? Because if we really, the ancient wedding dresses, from what I understand, was just a little patch. And we could go back to that. That might be super traditional. If you are so conservative and reactionary that you want to go back to the ancient times, I think a little scrap of fabric, and the woman must choose where on her body to put the fabric.
If we're doing this, why not go back all the way to the ancient days where men and women wore pretty much the same thing?
I'm okay with just going back to yesterday. I'm okay to going back to right before this conversation. How about that? How about just 5 minutes ago? How about that? I think the investors, I think the bottom line would enjoy, hey, just a few little things from yesterday.
So something old, something from yesterday, something borrowed from yesterday, something
blue.
All right, there. Thank you. You've decided all the wedding dresses will be blue this year.
Will be blue. Okay. I think we could sell that. I think we could sell that.
Progress.
All right. I think that was a punchline. I think that counts. Okay. So I think we can be done with that scene. I've been trying to push Bill into starting scenes based on no premise, based on the least bit of premise. So what you were saying is like, make that the first line of a scene.
I love it.
I mean, I don't know. Is that?
Well, I was going to say, Mark, this is fantastic. You're really getting your confidence, and it's really great. I think it's awesome. I don't know, Sheri, you've got some improv bona fides as well, yes?
Yeah. Well, sure. We'll go with
actual,
we'll go with that.
Yes,
non-podcast related.
Yes. Not my first improv podcast.
So, any thoughts about the techniques? Share. I mean, Bill's the one that's supposed to come in with the lesson, but you're the guest. Any tips on our respective roles in the flow of that thing?
Oh, on improv, you want me to give you guys notes?
I mean, it's a possibility.
You guys are beginners, so I'm not going to give you notes. I'm going to say go. I'm going to say that's awesome. Notes
Bill is not a beginner.
Don't help. I will give you the information that one of my favorite improvisers gave to me, which is that improv scenes are like tissues, and you just pull them out and you throw them away, and you don't reuse tissues, and you don't revisit tissues. You're not going to use a tissue and then open up and look at it. No, you're just going to throw it out. Move on to the next thing.
I think that's a good.
That was Susan Messing, by the way.
Podcast episodes, I think, are very much like that. Probably people do not revisit them. So our legacy is nothing.
And if you reach over and grab 2 or 3 at the same time, well, that's
better than a bad something legacy.
I
guess then you can say whatever obnoxious thing you want about marrying dogs, and then it's just gone.
It'll be with us. It's going to hang with us. I'll remember that.
It was very non-sexual. There's all right. We don't have to revisit that choice.
Make a different choice next time.
Yeah.
Bill, did you have any?
Well, I was going to say that towards the theme of, there were some thematic elements in there, and we can't discuss consent if we don't discuss consent, so I think getting it out there, what does it mean? Having a ridiculous point of view is certainly a fantastic way of getting an opinion out to chat about, for sure.
Well, certainly as far as the fashion goes, just, we think of it now as self-expression, but the fact that most, even now, fashions are not truly, are not chosen in any significant way, or they're chosen among which of these white dress shirts do you want to wear to your job? I know that we have, I don't know, is jeans the thing that we would choose, that all of us that wear jeans would really choose if we really had infinite leg cover varieties ready to, I don't know. It seems to have more to do with the sociology and the marketing and things than expression.
I don't know. I think jeans are very practical. I think most of us are very practical. But I think you'd have to think about it more subtly, which is like not all jeans are just jeans. There's a million different types of jeans. Jeans are just kind of a standard casual wear item because Americans popularized casual wear. Jeans were, something that happened here for our workers. But I have all sorts of different types of jeans. I have high-waisted jeans. I have low-slung jeans. I have super tight jeans. I have super baggy jeans, bell bottoms. I have straight leg jeans. I have acid wash jeans. I have ripped jeans. I have very stiff cuffed jeans. So like to say that we don't make choices, I would disagree with that. We do.
Or jeans that ironically you wouldn't want to go to work in. You wouldn't want to.
Yes, I have work jeans and I have and I have play jeans. And I would even say like
fashion jeans. Yeah.
I think like, oh, I'm not making any choices with my jeans, but I'm guessing if you go into a store, you don't just pick the first pair of jeans. You probably pick a pair of jeans where you're like, these pair of jeans are somewhat neutral, and they maybe don't stand out one way or the other. They're just saying like, I'm chill, I'm cool.
Something that
too out of the way, but not too dowdy. They're not like mom, dad jeans, So it's like that's a statement. It might not be a big statement, but it's still a statement.
Something it has come to my consciousness as I have aged and I go to the store to buy clothes. I have thought, am I too old for that? And maybe this thing that used to be comfortable, do I really want to, like, oh, I can't wear blue jeans, but tan or green, or like, and I,
you don't think you can wear blue jeans because of your age?
Well, that's just it. I go into the store and I double clutch. I'm like, wait a minute, can I? At what point? You know what I'm saying? And I think there's an interesting thing, and I'm sure there's culture and microculture and subculture and all kinds of things about like, who can or can't wear certain clothes, or do we have judgments around people's age or anything about a person?
Can wear anything that they want to. I think whether or not you're emotionally prepared to deal with the judgment that will and does come is a wholly different question. But I feel like anybody could be able to wear what they want to wear. Personally.
Yes, emotionally prepared is doing a lot of lifting.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, I don't think most of us are not in New York, or somewhere where if you wear something unusual that most people are not going to blink an eye. So there's that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like we have a duty in the furtherance of expanding freedom to just dress freaky? So that then to harden our fellow citizens so they're just like, as they become urbane like New Yorkers, and just say, oh, okay, that's a thing.
Fashion is expression, but it's also practicality. Fashion is a lot of things, which is why I love it. There's times when you just want to be comfortable and you have to be yourself, and we're not all the same people. I'm someone who likes to I have a whole closet over there full of a million different types of dresses just cause, and I never have anywhere to wear them, but I have them. But that's me. If you did that, it might not be you. So then are you being true to yourself?
Yeah.
And do you feel restricted?
But if you have a me in your community who shows up at a party, then you can be like, that person's okay. Hey, maybe don't judge that person. So, I mean, I think we can make space for people without being like everyone, because that is individuality and community.
And is it there a restriction I've noticed in watching, for instance, the Bridgerton, that like I feel like you can't get dressed like that without a helper. The fact that we don't have
Wow.
dressing buddies, maybe you could be, I'm not saying slaves, I'm just saying like a buddy that's your fashion buddy, and you're like, here, I'll
You
help
can pay them.
put-
Yeah, you can do it.
Yeah, a valet, a
I'll,
valet.
I'll help you put on
The
this
payment goes a
two-story
long way.
headdress.
And
If
again,
you
the consent to help you.
Yes.
That's a career.
I mean, I guess that is the chief form of child abuse, is parents that make them put on the two-story hat,
Zip me
the
up.
Pope's hat.
Yeah.
There you go. It just starts with zip me up, and then it's like
They didn't have zippers then.
make a nest and put animals in it so I can carry them
There were
around
no
on my
zippers
head.
then. That was lace me up.
Lace me- yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yes,
Yep.
sew me into this. Isn't that like a wedding dress thing specifically? That even now there's some wedding dresses like that you literally have to be sewn into. But that's you're only going to do that once.
It's usually not. It's either something that's very high fashion or something has gone wrong, and so and that is a stopgap.
Between the sizing, between the making and the wearing, yes.
Well, okay. So when you buy a wedding gown in your traditional mass-produced store, what generally happens is you try on a sample of the gown, and then they're like, okay, this is your size, and then they send off, and it takes a few months, and then one is shipped over to the US, and then that size, although it's technically your size, it's not perfect, and then you have to get alterations, and then that is a whole process, and a lot of people wait till the last minute, and so then that gets interesting a few days before the wedding.
Yeah.
So that.
It's a slight change of topic here, but something you mentioned earlier, Sheri, kind of got me thinking. I have been doing some substitute teaching for the school district, K through 8, which has been interesting. It's been fun, and it's flexible, and it fits my kids' schedule, so that's nice.
And you could be a whole new you with every class and wear a different kind of outfit. Is that where you're going with
Well,
this?
no, I actually have about 3 shirts and 2 pairs of pants. I just rotate, and I'm at different schools, so no one knows the difference.
Yep.
Yeah. But I have noticed that kids will that the whole idea when I was younger in the 80s and early 90s that like your clothes said who you were, what social group you were a member of. Mm-hmm. Were you a stoner? Were you a preppy? Were you a da-da-da? And that's just not really a thing anymore.
That was kind of what I was saying.
Yeah, that's what you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
And there are like what's really popular. And when I say really, I couldn't tell you what's really popular because there is no consensus, or at least not broad enough consensus. Mm-hmm. So I will see things that will catch my eye. For some reason, heavy metal T-shirts and Pink Floyd T-shirts are really popular.
Band T-shirts. Yep.
Yes, and there's a piece of me that's like, I don't. Yeah,
do you engage engage a child like, they were really good until Sid Barrett left, and then
exactly.
Once
I want to say, oh, clearly they're not a fan. They're not a fan. They didn't grow up with Metallica like I did, but they may very well know.
They have a parent probably or an older sibling.
Yeah. And just with the way music is, you can just jump on the internet and hear any song from any band you want.
Yep.
And it's how different that is. Do you think that is eroding fashion as a thing? Is it hurting that like, oh, we do have much more agency. We do. And if people don't care about what other people are wearing.
I would say if anything, I don't know if it's eroding fashion. I think it might be just a symptom of where we are culturally, in the sense that fashion, you see big distinct fashion when there is innovation, when something major culturally happens to change things. And so one could argue, and I'm not sure that I believe this, but it's possible that the fact that there isn't a lot of innovation and that there's a lot of return to things of years past, and that there's maybe a fear of individuality, because as I was mentioning, like a lot of the things that used to be icons of being fashion forward or being outside of the crowd are now very mainstream. I mean,
Yeah.
piercings, tattoos, colored hair, anything that we would have been like, oh wow, look at that person. It's normal. Everybody has it.
Yeah.
So also what does it take to stand out now? Really, like, even though, yes, in a conservative community, you could do something very easily and stand out, but if in a liberal community, really, what would you notice?
Yeah.
You know?
Something wildly impractical is what you would notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we could see this as a window on sort of the level of freedom in a society, but then at the same time, I wonder if we were given this way of self-expressing as a band-aid, as a compensation for more substantial freedoms that we don't have. That yes, you can have your hair set any way you like and you can dress any way you like, but you still have to get a job and you still have to spend 90% of your time, unless the big bucks roll in from apparently improv, that it lets you jump off of your career path and what you went to school for, and then you just can luxuriate.
Oh, big improv money. Trust me, all of my fashion came from a thrift store. So where's the best fashion does, and my sewing machine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I look at fashion as a consolation prize or an antidote. It's not, fashion is not in conflict with society. Fashion is in conversation with society. Fashion is a response from society. Fashion is a symptom of society. But it's maybe in one very small elite where you're talking about, like, runway or something. Not even runway is really actually very still. Yeah, it's just, no, fashion is society.
Sure. I mean, this was not an attempt to
No,
poo-poo it, because freedom of speech, you could say, is often the same thing. Like, okay, you can say whatever you want, but nothing you say is going to have any large-scale political effect. So go ahead. Like this would be,
really
a form of speech.
That's really interesting that you say that, because there was this fascinating like, I don't know, I think I saw it on Twitter or something, where there was a girl and she was on TikTok, and I'm not on TikTok because I'm afraid of it. But she showed her, she was following some like little silly story or whatever, and it was like some, relationship issue. And
Sure.
she would looked at it, and on the comments on it on her phone, it showed that everyone was like, yes, you go girl, you go girl. And then her boyfriend looked at the same story, and in the comments, it was like, yeah, you go guy. He's right. The guy's right. And they were both looking at the same thing in real time and recognizing that their algorithm was showing them two separate things.
Wow.
So we don't have any sense of shared reality. So the idea, and this is what is new. And so the idea that something could have an impact, how could it have an impact? Because none of us are on the same page. How can we be on the same page? That is probably the biggest change. Even the idea of a trend catching.
Yeah.
How could even a trend catch on when we can't even agree on basic politics or basic facts anymore? So we can't even agree like, yes, purple is the color of the season, because we're just not on the same page, because your feed is telling you it's purple, my feed is telling me it's red, and your feed is telling you it's blue. So we don't live in shared reality, so we can't come together on fashion. We can't come together on an idea. It's very difficult to have. I mean, when was the last time you saw a leader? When I think a lot of us now are wishing for that kind of tumultuous change of the civil rights movement, and yet, where are those leaders? And I think we've entered a place where we will not have those leaders anymore. And as a matter of fact, all of the information that we have, the glut of information, the overwhelming amount of information that we have at our fingertips, means that the onus falls on the individual. Which is why we have all these bits and different unique perspectives. It really is about, hey, we each have to clean up our own yard, our own street. We have to make those connections. I really think very more interpersonally. I was saying this to my husband the other day. I think that the revolution that is happening now, which I don't think we've come to realize it yet 100%, but it is the social revolution, not in the sense of social media, but in the sense of person to person. So
Sure.
at the turn of the last century, it was you know, therapy and you know, the going inside into the mind. And now we're trying to master, you know, crossing bridges. Can we connect? How? It's hard. It's not easy. We're not successful at it. We're failing a lot, but we're failing a lot because we're trying it. And so maybe, hopefully, before I die, we will have succeeded at it.
Well, I think we'll all have the meta glasses sooner than that, such that
Oh, those will never catch on.
I don't even
as a
really.
friend, I don't believe them.
I don't see clothes. Like I literally don't see clothes. I wear the meta glasses. It shows me everybody naked, and I know other people like the burqa vision. That's their take on that. Everybody's in a burqa, male and female. I don't even see. I don't even see gender. I just post gender.
Gender, color.
I want it to make everybody's voice into something that it sounds like, you know, that it's an anonymizer.
Just uniform.
Uniform.
Yeah.
It's coming. Hurry up. I'm tired. Come on, relax. God.
Boy, I will say that if I could wear the same clothes every day without any social like, hey, you're wearing the same clothes, like without any strife, I probably would. Or at least I would.
I've known people who've done it. I dated somebody who did that one.
Yeah.
That was just with a set of, because you don't want to actually wear the same stinky clothes.
No.
But just having the identical outfits.
Yeah, he had a variation on, you know, probably 4 or 5 different looks. Slight variations, but not much, and just did that. And I actually do that. I think Steve Jobs famously did that.
There was a Australian newscaster who, as an experiment, wore the same suit every day for a year on the air, 5 days a week for a year. I think he changed different shirts or ties, but the same suit. And then at the end, he's like, "Hey, I don't know if you realize this. I've been wearing the same suit for a year, and no one batted an eyelash. Yet my co-host, the woman, if she wore the same thing twice a day, you know, and it was a good, you know, oh, wow. Yeah.
Hashtag sexism.
Yeah.
Even in the ancient times, you had to, you know, they only had the cloth that was this big, but you had to wear a different one.
One cloth, we had
a different one.
Yes.
Yeah. And you had your lounging around the house cloth, a little bit larger.
Yep.
You know, a little elasticy, and then your going out cloth and formal cloth, wedding cloth. Yeah. You know,
I mean, I think the worst is this.
Cloth is actually a different thing, but I won't go there for you.
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't know or you don't know.
The worst part of that whole thing is the staples, because if you just have a little cloth, there's no good way to, you just have to staple it on. And that's I'm not in favor of that.
It was pins.
Ow. Yeah.
Fashion is pain.
Well, Mark, I realized we didn't necessarily, you probably didn't have fashion on the brain when this whole thing started. We didn't even know Sheri was into fashion until we started chatting.
Very happy.
Most people don't know. I mean, once I got sucked into improv, then I started wearing the improv uniform, you know, some tennis shoes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the khaki pants and short sleeve button up flannel shirt for the fellas is the improv uniform.
I mean, that's the fashion right now. Pretty soon it'll be all mime. It'll be all the mime uniform.
Well, I will say, and I'm curious to see if this happens, and hopefully it'll be happening soon, with the ability to watch any movie or any TV show, listen to any music at your fingertips, will it put a premium on live performance? And just as you were saying earlier, Sheri, this whole notion of do we need to relearn how we interact with each other? Since we don't have to interact with each other to get through the day with just a few little transactions here or there, going to the doctor, you know, if we have family, but we can survive without human interaction. What kind of premium will it put on live entertainment, on the human interaction we choose?
I think it's a maybe. And I think this is somebody, I have many jobs. And one of them is I'm a theater critic, a theater and film critic. And so I go see a lot of shows. I spend a lot of time in live performance, in addition to doing shows. And there, I think it could, but I think a lot of, and I love my theater community. I love all the theater communities. I love all the performance communities. So I say this as a member of the community and not as a critic. And the critics are part of the community as well. But it's fairly elitist. And when I go to spaces, I'm seeing the same faces. And when there are shows that are geared more towards the masses, shall we say, or the non-traditional theater goers, those shows are often looked down upon. And so we don't have this new, we don't have this constant pipeline of new folks coming to the theater. And I mean, and I would really hate for live theater to start becoming the way like opera, has
Sure.
gone, where the tickets are insane, and your average person off the street is just not engaging in it, and it's just not, and it hasn't changed. And
Yeah.
there's some new operas, obviously, but it's it's I just think of like my family and my friends, and I have my theater friends. And then outside of the theater friends, those folks aren't going to a show unless it's to see me
Yeah.
or see the other, 5 actors that they know. Otherwise, on a Saturday night, they're not thinking, let's go to a show. And it's not the cost necessarily, although in some cases it is the cost. I mean, if you bought Broadway tickets anytime in the last decade, but it is just kind of like, that's just not a thing we do. It's a fancy thing. It's it's not the same way as you go see a movie. And even that experience has started to become gone the other way, where it's a little too lively sometimes. So.
I think interesting about movies is they've managed to keep ticket prices around $10 plus or minus for decades. Whereas live theater tickets have exploded. Well, yeah, but in the way that theater tickets have exploded in cost, rock concert tickets, it used to be $15 for a T-shirt and $15 for a ticket, and that's hundreds of dollars. Sporting events, but movies, now some of that could be the movie theaters themselves are in competition with people watching at home, but they've stayed within 10%, 15%, 20% of $10 for decades.
In my day, you could see the Rolling Stones for a nickel, and you just give the bouncer a kiss, and they'll let you right in.
Is that where we're going, Bill?
We can do a scene if you want. You just bailed on it. Do you want to go back to it?
I don't know if I want to do that voice for a whole scene, but
That's great, Grandpa. That's great. That's great. That's cool. I love hearing your stories. And how much was a Coke again?
A Coke was just about a nickel. And you'd have to cut a nickel in half and put half the nickel in the machine. And then a person would come out. It wouldn't even be just a machine. A person would come out and hand you the Coke and give you 4 cents change.
So, Grandpa, are you telling me that you're not going to pay for me to go to the Beyonce concert then?
What? Is there cosplay involved?
Well, I mean, only if you want to.
If I could dress like that Beyonce, then I would feel like I was really part of the show, and then they would probably boost me on stage, and I could be part of the show, and then it would be worth whatever price they were paying.
Okay, let me sell you into your dress real fast.
So you want to go to the Beyonce concert? Is that what I'm hearing?
I like to be the center of attention, as you know, and if we can engineer it so that I can, as a novelty, I recognize that I would not really be respected as one of the musicians, but if I dress like enough of a freak, then they might put me on stage next to the lobster boy and is Beyonce, is this that kind of show?
Grandpa, I think you're getting some things mixed up in your head. It's okay.
Yeah, this is not a Circus Midway. This is not, no.
I tell you, when I was a child, we would go to the Circus Midway. Sometimes they would just put the children on the Midway. They would take a different child back off the Midway, and you never know who you'd go home with.
Grandpa, I don't know what a Midway is.
It's about halfway.
Okay. Well,
it's the part of the circus that had all the games and then the Freak Show, it was called,
Oh,
with
okay.
the bearded woman and the,
Oh.
where that was to be on public display.
I thought that was just the whole circus. I didn't know it had a name.
Yeah, well, the ring is just like, well, look, Grandpa, if you really want to go to the concert, we can. Just so you know, tickets vary from $150 to $500.
Just take whatever you need to out of the mattress.
Really?
Yes, it's all. I'm going to die soon anyway. What else do I have to do with it?
Well, I was thinking long-term care, but if you don't care about that, it's fine.
What do I need? I'm a simple person. I just need my macaroons, my chair, and my shows.
What's your shows, Grandpa? What are you watching now?
It's all Apple TV.
Oh.
I'm really into that For All Mankind. I like to watch the alternate history space cosmonauts, and they go and some of them are gay, and then they all just have a big laugh about it.
Oh, that's wonderful. I just hope it's not too scary for you and you don't get your blood pressure up, Grandpa.
Some of the actors, they're very, they glisten a little too much for me, and I get a
Grandpa,
little overwhelmed.
I don't need to hear about that. No,
I'd like to see the freaks on the television. That's what I'm saying. It makes me,
Grandpa. I'm sorry. Grandpa, we don't have that kind of relationship. I only see you twice a year.
if I was in my day, if I was your folks, I would have taken you to the Midway and left you there, and then taken a different one back, and then maybe 20 years later, you'd come back and you'd confront your alternate self. That was a movie. That was a good one.
Grandpa, this is why we only see you twice a year. You're always threatening to drop me off at the Midway, and I just...
I don't really want to join the circus, Grandpa. I would just be worried the concerts can be long. You may be on your feet for a long time, right? There may not be seats. It could be loud, very loud.
And if you wear that outfit you want to, there's going to be stilettos.
Yeah.
As long as I get to be on the stage, I can dangle my feet off the stage and pretty much probably just fall asleep there. And they'll have a special spotlight just for me.
Well, I'm not sure if Beyonce will be sharing the spotlight with anybody, but Beyonce.
She's a generous woman.
That's kind of her thing.
You just need to know the lyrics. You need to be able to sing along effectively. And since it's all just a bunch of nonsense anyway, then if I just blah, 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 then I'll just blend right in. And, they'll give me my own microphone. And in fact, I think we should bring a microphone just so, they can, we have the option. Because sometimes they try to give you an SM58 and that's...
bottle.
Yeah. Hey, Grandpa, I heard down at the cafe, they are going to have some kind of an eclectic band singing some 50s doo-wop songs right at the cafe. And you can have dinner, and have a coffee.
It's an early dinner, 5 o'clock.
5, and then you can come and go if you get tired, and it's just, they'll be there just doing some old 50s stuff, Would that be fun?
That young people's music, I'm, Glenn Miller's for me, that 50s punks. You're trying to foist this new stuff on me. It's good that music circles around, so that I think that what Beyonce is doing now is really what I think this is the voice I meant to use. It was what the 40s punks. That's where I'm at. 40s
big band,
Like,
jazz, swing. Okay.
So if you've got the backpack to load me into, I'm definitely ready to go, and you can bring as much of that mattress money as you want. It's all you can see. It's not American denominations, but they probably accept it.
we should probably deposit that.
Okay.
It's gold bullion. That's all. I don't trust the American dollar. It's not going to stay steady. It's the gold. That's what the trend is now
Sure, Grandpa.
and forever. So let's melt it into a suit.
Speaking on behalf of all of your grandchildren, we love you very much. I just want you to know whatever happens, we love you very much
Whatever happens.
and want to be in your thoughts.
And
At all times.
on that note, this character dies and dies
Yes!
happy and loved.
I'm rich. I'm rich. I'm rich with Grandpa's gold.
Wait, we should probably read the will first.
Yeah.
Beyonce.
Yeah. He gave it to Beyonce. She doesn't need it. Are you kidding?
Any thoughts about that, Bill?
Well, once you establish kind of who you were, Mark, it was fun to just play with you and just be reasonable against your ridiculous. And that was certainly fun and easy to play.
I love a grandpa character.
It was slowly morphing toward the French accent or something. That's where it's going.
Not to be like.
We usually do not do voices on this show. I just, for some reason, both of these.
Not to be too depressing, but apparently there are some centers for people with dementia and Alzheimer's and whatnot that are built to look like the 1950s diner.
Shut up! That's amazing.
Yes, and they have the music and everything, and it's like a
That's
time
100%.
warp.
That's awesome.
And it's very soothing to the people. It feels like home to them. They still have memories of a very early past, and it makes them very calm and relaxed. But that got me thinking. So when I'm going senile, well, they take me to some place where it's just all like grunge music, and it's like, which would be hilarious. I kind of want to see that now, and just like, it's all like 90s, 80s and 90s kind of stuff.
Cool old people. We're gonna be cool old people.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna have all the tattoos and the piercings and the hair. It's gonna be
That's old people fashion. Ear gauges? Oh, no thanks, Grandpa. That's gross. It's you old people with their droopy earlobes, not me. We're bringing back preppy.
That's
full on.
Time for preppy to come back.
Yes. Pinch roll jeans, polo shirts tucked in.
Mm-hmm. Boat shoes.
Sweaters. Yeah, boat shoes.
Right
sweater. Yeah, sweater over. Yeah. Boy, I will say this. This is kind of embarrassing, but very human of me. I was in, I don't know, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, somewhere in there. And out of expediency, like being late for school as always, I wore boat shoes, which were formal shoes in the 80s with no socks. And a girl complimented me. Like, ooh, I like that look. I then wore boat shoes with no socks for the next decade.
A compliment will go a long way.
Yes, and I think that speaks to something about fashion. Why do we choose the thing? Maybe there's an outcome we want.
Sometimes
we want to be perceived a certain. Yeah, we want to be thought of as a certain way, or want a certain thing to manifest, and
or not.
And yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I was raised Muslim, and my parents are converts. I'm not religious now, or then actually. But in our community, a Black Muslim community, mostly African American people, and most of the women were just dressed in like normal clothes in a scarf. But there was like 1 or 2 women who were a burqa, and that was not our community. There was not commonly burqas. We were not very many Middle Eastern folks. And I asked my mom, "What's up with that?" And she was like, "Well, some of these women have experienced harsh things in life and would prefer to not have the male gaze on them." Because they have experienced bad times with men. And I was just like, oh, wow. So sometimes the outcome we want is leave me alone.
Yeah.
Are there people who sometimes wear a burqa just depending on how much time they have to get ready in the morning? It's like,
honestly,
I just got to get out the door.
Just from that perspective, just like, no, that's absolutely not. I have no time. Just cover it up. Didn't shower.
I mean, I've done that on Zoom sometimes. Like, oh, I'm sorry, my camera's not working today. Just because, in other words, I didn't shower. So
No, you
therefore,
were like, I did shower today, but I was going to look more formal, but then right before my voice teacher was like, oh, it's time for your lesson. And I had put it on the calendar for the wrong time. And I'm like, no. So this is what you're getting. And I didn't realize until you sent me that email that there was going to be Zoom. It's fine. It's fine.
as we draw to a close, what lessons have we learned today? Have we learned? I mean, there's to sum up the philosophy. I how would you sum up the philosophy, Bill?
Yeah, I think self-expression is important to the human animal, you know, and whatever that means. If we are expressing ourselves to show we're a member of a group, or expressing ourselves to show we're not a member of a group, whatever it is, I think it's a powerful form of self-expression, and I think the human animal wants that, and we want to see what other people are doing, and it isn't just what do I wear, what's everyone else wearing? Fashion magazines, so that there is something to it, and I think something very human about it. And cultures all over the planet since the history of humanity have unique clothings, body art, all kinds of things that aren't simply functional. So there is something going on, even though we may make fun of what's happening on the runways of Milan, or the ridiculous things that every now and again you'll see some high fashion clothes made out of potato sacks and billiard balls. There's something going on that's very human, and I think that's real and is worthy of our respect. How's that philosophically?
I agree, except I find the notion, the term self-expression, to be a little problematic in that it assumes that there's something already pre-existent that you just want to get out, which of course there sometimes is. If you're like, I feel so rebellious against my parents, I need to do this thing, whatever it is, nose ring or whatever that they consider. But I think we build these, the notion of what is it we're trying to express is just as much something that is out in as in out, so
Sure.
that I can wear a piece of clothes or make a choice, and in that way sort of not just express something but actually build something. Like, this is the character that I'm creating to project out, and maybe it's just a way to hide. I mean, these were my early fashion experiences, was like, oh, I have this hat that I think is really cool, and then I go to school, everybody makes fun of my damn hat. Oh, I'll never wear anything that is the least bit out of the ordinary again.
You
Until
are that
college.
kid who rolled up in a
And
fedora in 5th grade.
I think that's really interesting, because I think there's a thing about fashions. I think we think about it from the perspective often of the self, which is, what am I doing? How am I changing myself? How am I expressing who I am? How am I expressing my changing self through time? But I think it might even be more helpful to look at it as, what is our view of others and of society? And if our view is always, that's alien, I can't understand that, I refuse to accept that, I can't make space for that in my life simply because it looks different, or I can't process it, that says something about our ability to be in community with others. So I think when it's and I think it's one thing about fashion especially, is that fashion is often seen as the realm of the woman. We immediately associate fashion with women, even though everybody wears clothes, right? And so that is endemic of the sexism in our society, which is, we still haven't made space for women and women's issues as mainstream, normal, pedestrian, so normal as to not even be remarked upon. That we must take a category of something, and this is not just fashion, but anything generally that's seen as women's work or women's categories, as less than frivolous. We can acknowledge it as that's a thing that's over there, but not, this is our holistic society and people express themselves and it's okay. We can't be okay with ourselves until we can be okay with others. So just as we see ourselves, the way we present in society is a mirror. The way we react to others' differences is also a mirror. If we see something different and we can't say, that's fine, then maybe we also have problems accepting that ourselves.
All right.
I mean, to give the more serious answer to what you asked in the first place, Bill, about what's the ancients' take on this. This was the default.
There we go.
As a budding philosopher, as a young person, that why it was okay that I was driven to just wear what everybody else wore and not really care about that. Or, I mean, not that I didn't care about it. Like my mom cut my hair until I was like 11, and then like, no, that's not. I cannot allow that to. I got too much grief for that. So
only 11?
Okay, last year.
No.
That's something you have to turn to a professional.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Although this was in like 1983, so like I had to then hit the part in the middle because that's what everybody.
Yeah.
It was not. I was not willing enough to wear enough product to actually to meld. But any case, yes. But yes, the default. I think the ancients' view, if you're talking about Plato, Aristotle, whatever, is fashion. The entire realm of the physical does not matter. That, to be a serious person, to be a serious thinker, then you're above all that, and so you just don't care, and it's sort of on par with the other sort of that philosopher was so busy thinking that he stepped in a deep hole, because it's this disdain for the practical.
Yeah.
So clearly these guys had no sense of fashion. They would be wearing sweatpants to nice restaurants today. So clearly their philosophy devalues fashion because they don't get it. Clearly that's what you're saying.
They don't want to put in the effort.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, but I'm very stylish in my thinking.
Boo. Give me your lunch money.
All right. Any thoughts on the improv? I know Sheri is saying just throw them away, but we need to come away with a lesson. What have we?
It's just like fashion. Improv is fashion, which is you can take it off and put it back on and try something different, because it is not. Look, I can't take off my skin. I can't take off my I could take off my gender if I wanted to, but I am who I am, right? But fashion is malleable. Improv is malleable. Try something different.
If your accent is terrible, don't make that choice again.
I think that counts.
All right. Throw it.
All right. Then in the spirit of philosophy versus improv, now that we've said both of those things, which of those two is the winner of today's competition? As the guest, you get the chief and perhaps only vote, depending on how definitive you are.
I need now I need to remember what I just said.
I think that improv comparison to fashion, and then what we had to say about fashion, those are the two things.
I mean, I think just like fashion, there's a million choices. So I personally can't make the choice. It is because it is what you want and what is right for you or me. It's an individual choice.
All right. Well, I'm going to vote improv.
Okay. I vote philosophy. You got a tie.
All right.
Everybody wins.
All right. It's a tie. It's a three-way tie.
I should sell my soul. Bankrupt.